I'm Dustin Phillips,
And I'm Elvin Graves Jr.
and you're watching the Next Up Show. It's week 8. We're starting to grow.
Yes, sir.
Elvin just joined us last week. Elvin's got a pretty good history with music, especially being a local musician in the area. This past weekend, we had the UFC, a lot of great stuff. We'll get into the results and the scene, the next scene, obviously later in this episode. Anyhow, Elvin's also got a big show coming up at Uncle Bo's downtown.
Bows.
What's
Yes.
interesting about Uncle Bo's is Sunshine Blue, which there was an article in yesterday's paper.
Topeka Capital Journal?
Yeah, on
Awesome.
Sunshine taking over at Uncle Bo's and them expanding from what they're known as a blues bar and bringing in other genres of music.
Yeah.
You
which is
being one of
awesome.
those in your opening for Kris Lager.
Yes. I will be opening for Kris Lager. That'll be on March the 9th. Kris Lager's actually he played at Uncle Bo's previously during the blues era, which considered that a little bit more. So he will be a continuance from the history that's kind of started there. But he's awesome band out of Nebraska.
Is that where he's from? Is Nebraska?
Yes.
Okay. I for whatever reason I thought he was from the Topeka area.
No. A lot of the bands that play at Uncle Bo's, the really cool thing about Uncle Bo's is they get traveling acts. They get a lot of people that are coming in, and so we get a chance to experience music that's not always local when you go to Uncle Bo's. But then, you get the luxury of having individuals like myself sometimes that will have the opportunity to be able to be an opening act or be involved in a show there. So,
and
it's a cool way to mix it up.
that's actually how we met. Was one of your shows opening for Kris at Uncle Bo's. We have some mutual friends. Speaking of friends, though, Sunshine is somebody you've known for a while.
Yes,
Tell us a little bit more about, because she's getting really involved over the last several years, starting to get a name for herself as being somebody a little prominent in like the local music scene.
Very true. She's very cool, hip, hard worker, she's got a lot of things that she's got going, and she's really built a name for herself in the world of music. Involved in a great downtown concert put on called the Sunshine Reggae Festival.
They do that with the Celtic Fox.
Yes, correct.
Mike Fox, he's actually been pretty helpful with us. He's had a lot of outside traveling musicians coming in as well. It's interesting to see a shared interest in the growth in downtown area.
Yes, we're seeing a lot of really awesome things going on there. So I agree with you on that. So if you're not experiencing downtown, I think it's definitely important that we go out and see some things. And the cool thing is you'll see the Next Up Show on the streets more here in the warmer season, once things start picking up. So
yeah, no, exactly. Definitely, as soon as it gets warmer, there's some things I would like to get out and do. You'll see us more in the Kansas City, the Lawrence, and Topeka areas.
Nice.
With all the music shows going on. Granada has a big thing that they throw outside on Mass Street. An outdoor free concert that Standard Beverage helps with.
Yes.
And then with the
Shout
music,
out to Mark.
yeah, Mark Rose. He helps put that on, as well as the Downtown Music Festival, which is in Fight Fest, which is in downtown Topeka as well in September, and all the other little festivals that we have going on.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff going on from the Topeka and the Lawrence area that's almost like a incubator, as you will, for the local music scene.
Right.
That we've accepted all these other genres.
Yes.
And everybody, kind of unites as just musicians and supports each other.
Yeah.
And you're starting to feel that growth in that community more.
And artists, you know what I mean? Being identified as artists as well, you know what I mean? The musicianship in the Midwest is pretty amazing. I think it's kind of a untapped jewel, how many incredible musicians we have around here. So there's a big pot to pull from as far as what you wanna try new and listening.
Well, I mean, I agree. I think a lot. It's interesting that if you go back to like the beginning of like R&B with like Elvis,
Yeah.
and down in Memphis, that Memphis sound, and Memphis is only a few hours from Nashville,
Right.
and at the same time, Nashville was developing their sound,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
the explosion, and then Southern rock. Coming from like Muscle Shoals, Alabama, down in that
Man.
all a few hours
The
from each
swamps.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a hotbed for this new music.
That's right.
And then you have that going on with the hip hop scene in Kansas City,
Right.
with Tech Nine, as well as you have artists now that are popping up like Tyrell Keast, and you have bands like country pop with Second Chance.
Right.
You have
right.
you have these it's like this melting pot going on in this area. That's unique and that
Busy. Brandon Evans there, he's doing big things. He has a song with Tech Nine. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really incredible things going on. I think I think music's really going into a new era of new listening, if you will. You know what I mean? So hopefully we hear a lot more and see a lot more. New stuff. I would like to just say modern, maybe a good way to stamp that. Some more modern music, more modern ideas going on. Here in the Midwest, that'd be really cool.
Well, I think with technology at just a kid's fingertips, like
Right.
Somebody that's starting out, like say when we were in middle school,
Yeah.
if we had a Mac just at our fingertips,
Right.
and then we just we had like Audacity or some audio interface.
Yeah.
Just a click away, and then
Right.
we get our first guitar, and we
Right.
can use a sampler on that with just a click.
Yeah.
These are all things like when we were growing up that would cost hundreds and thousands
Right.
of dollars.
It was unheard of.
Yeah, and
Right.
so to get like your just you on a guitar. You had to stick in your cassette tape
Right.
on your recorder and hit play and record at the same time.
Right.
And it was this just muffled mess.
Right.
And then you put a label on it and you mail it out to some record company.
Right.
And it's kind of funny.
Or it stays off in your drawer because you didn't maybe know how to get it out there to the record company.
Yeah, no,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Who knows?
Or you could have been like Zach Wild and you get it out to the record company with like a little 20 bag of
Right.
cocaine, like to play my music.
Right.
Like there's just it's
There's
different.
ways. There's ways.
Now
you got to be creative.
Now somebody, your next door neighbor's kid, could just a click away could be the next star.
Right. That's true.
Because he's
That's
able
true.
to get his music out there, and that's all we're trying to do at the Next Up Show.
Right.
We give somebody a simple click to give artists a platform to play.
Yeah.
So speaking of, let's get into this next artist, Jaclyn Vanhappen. She's an acoustic guitar player. She's an up-and-coming musician out of Canada. She's the former niece of, and I say former, she still is the niece of my former coach, Sean Tompkins. She's a talented musician. I've been fortunate enough to know her and have her in my life. Just watching her as a developing artist has been pretty awesome.
Nice.
So here's
nice.
her song, Invincible.
Feel that everybody else seems to hit home runs when they're the ones up to bat. Just love yourself, they preach. It's not as easy as it seems. The light that's supposed to gleam tends to be buried by self-esteem. When the lights go out, that's when I find myself. That's when I can breathe. Falling in the dark, that's the easy part. I can make believe that I'm invincible. That I'm invincible. There are moments I find myself at war with who I am, the things I've said and done, those situations that didn't go as planned. If I could take it back some days, I wouldn't hesitate. But then other moments I think maybe it was meant to be that way. Everything changes. It's scary, but we don't get a choice. We're let to roll with the punches. And
Welcome back to the Next Up Show. That was Jaclyn Vanhappen.
Happening.
Yeah, right. And she's got it happen, and that was Invincible. So it was a pretty cool video. It was a nice acoustic, laid-back feel. So very nice.
No, I like the, I don't know what you would call it, like that speak singing style.
Yeah, like a speakeasy. Oh, I like a poetic type of deal.
Yeah.
It's like a poetry.
Like
Poetry.
spoken word.
Yeah, perfect example, exactly. So yeah, it's a new sound. I think that's coming about. So I guess we'll be seeing more of that, or at least hearing it from Jaclyn Vanhappen.
Yeah. that could be the title of her next album.
Right.
Jaclyn Vanhappen.
Yes.
It's happening.
Yeah. I'm just saying, maybe you should talk to Dustin
Royalty.
a little bit here. Yeah.
We need royalty rights on that.
Awesome. So what else we got going on here?
We had some events happening this weekend. This past UFC was a big event. What's interesting is the tie between local musicians and local athletes. Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley both fought on the card, both former University of Missouri athletes.
Yes.
Tyron's also a musician. He's a rapper. He's released a few albums. He's out of the St. Louis area. So
That's awesome, man. So I mean, is that something that's common as far as athletes and musician being like a thing for most athletes? Do you find that combination often?
No, I think with some sports you do. Interesting enough, that's how I started picking up guitar.
Yeah.
I lived with an actual fighter. He was a musician. He went to the University of Missouri.
That's awesome.
He had his music degree from the University of Missouri, and I was learning to still play piano at the time, so he showed me a lot. And then I had another teammate that moved in with me.
Was there ever any time that you guys sat down at like the keyboard and you just got done with like a match that was pretty brawlish maybe, and you're sitting there maybe with a little puffy eye, or like you're in a sling or something, or I don't know, maybe you'd never had an experience like that where you ever but I mean possibly, but I mean I'm just trying to imagine there being a time where there's two fighters that enjoy music, and you're sitting there and you guys are maybe bruised a little bit while you're trying to learn some classical music maybe. Let's add that on there. So yeah, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. It's comical a little bit too, you know what I mean?
No, it's funny that you talk about that. When Dave and I first moved in together, we set up the piano and had a guitar out there and stuff. There was a couple Friday nights, I think, that we were drinking heavily, just bored at the house, and playing around.
That's the best practice time. Man.
Jamming out. And, I mean, I was terrible and he was okay. So,
right.
It was more just the fun experience.
Yeah. It's all about the experience,
But
Jimi Hendrix said it the best.
Yeah. No, Hendrix was amazing. I am definitely not that good. But over the years, a lot of fighters and grapplers that I've met have been, musicians of some sort.
That's solid.
I have a very close friend of mine out of Las Vegas who's one of the coaches now at Extreme Couture, Danny D1 Davis, who his nickname was a rapper/scrapper.
Nice.
And he used to be a producer out of the Las Vegas area.
That's awesome.
And he's actually a good rapper. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's not
respectable.
Yeah, not like, I got a couple, pro studios at home and I threw up some beats.
Right.
But no,
yeah,
Danny.
He has some substance to him.
He actually made a living as a rapper. Like,
That's
he's
awesome.
had multiple albums and stuff like that. So it's just one of those things. Martial artists are artists still.
Right.
And a lot of them trap into. Me, myself, it was a way to, it's a very alpha-centric sport.
Yeah.
To be a fighter. So I think for some people, even like myself, were emotional. It was an outlet to get emotion that you can't necessarily share within the gym or anything like that. It's a way to get it out.
Nice.
So. And I personally like rom-coms as well. Some bombs, a blanket, and get a good cry.
Right.
But
it's good. It's good for the soul.
Yes, very, very soul cleansing.
Nice, awesome. Okay, so you visited some fights. There was fights this past weekend.
Yeah, the UFC.
Right?
That's what we were talking about with Tyron.
Yeah.
He defended his welterweight title. He unfortunately lost to Kamaru Usman. So that was an interesting fight. A lot of shock. Ben Askren fought Robbie Lawler. There was a slightly controversial ending to that.
Really? I don't know. Is it so controversial to elaborate a little bit more on that, or?
I would like to. I feel Brandon's gonna get more into it on the Cream later this week. Catch the Cream every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I can't really talk about it. It's just one of those. I wasn't physically there, so Herb Dean's a good referee. He does have experience, so
That referee, that's such a difficult job.
it's a difficult job.
I mean,
so.
I don't want to be a referee necessarily. Who wants to be in charge of a person's career? I mean, essentially, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Technically, that's what is happening there. You know what I mean? They're going to either add a win or add a loss to, due to their calls. You know what I mean? So.
And unfortunately, in MMA, you do have. I wouldn't classify as Herb Dean as one of those, but you do have a lot of inexperienced refs who the commission put out there who don't take the time to get to know the sport that they're officiating. Whether that be they just don't have the time and it's a way for them to make a couple extra $100, or things like that.
That's
so
understandable.
you have some.
It's their growing. It's their growing period. But sometimes it's at the expense.
They shouldn't be allowed there, and the commissions need to get smarter and pull their heads out of their ass and actually try to do their job.
I understand.
But I don't want to get into it. We'll let Brandon
that
get
is
into
the
it.
controversial
I'm a
end of
former
it.
fighter, so I get kind of heated about stuff
No,
like
I understand,
that.
man. And you know what? The Next Up show in general is introducing me to a lot of the fight scene, the MMA, type of deal, and so that's why I was kind of curious on what would be controversial, as far as when it comes to the fight scene. You know what I mean? Is it more administrator controversy normally, or is it a lot of individual controversy? Sometimes. So I know that there's a lot of chemistry that can happen in the sport. So it's cool to be able to hear about it, and it's sometimes difficult to hear about what some of the fighters have to deal with due to the commission not doing their job. So maybe that's something that we can shine some light on maybe sometime in the future.
Yeah, like a rectal exam.
Yeah,
it definitely needs the light shine on it.
That's deep.
Yeah, it is. Hey, so this next video coming up is a musician and up-and-comer from the Kansas City area that we had the pleasure of seeing when she kicked off her tour in the Topeka area at the Celtic Fox that we were talking about earlier. So Kelly Hunt with her song Across the Great Divide.
One more time, just speak those words I long to hear. They ring like a melody that lingers in my ear. Not trace the words upon your lips, but are for to hear, and to etch the memory in my mind of a love I'd only ever hoped to find. One more time, would you place your hand upon my breast and feel the heart that beats for you, a heart that knows no rest, a heart that knows you most of all, the heart that loves you best, and that broken would-be goes marching on and renders its love into a song. Now I am flooded as a broken down dam, and I am busted as a highwayman. Well, you hit me on my blind side and you slipped right through my hands, and the fragments from so far I don't see how I'll ever get home myself now.
Welcome back. That was Kelly Hunt there with the video
Across the Great Divide.
Across the Great Divide. That is correct. So we have on the agenda.
What do we have?
Well, on the agenda, we have plans to be out in the streets, like we said earlier. And for the most part, we wanted to direct everybody to our YouTube. If you haven't already been there, if you're not watching it on that right now, go ahead and subscribe. Get a chance to like our page on the Facebook. We have a new logo that we've presented and things done by DP Graphics. Dan is doing his thing. So
Dan the Man.
Yeah, Dan the Man.
Hopefully, I can get Dan the Man together, and we can start getting this cartoon idea we have out for the segment about the pirate.
Yes, he's an amazing artist. So he's doing some great things in graphics. So DP Graphics, if you need anything done, that's the guy to go to. But we have a new logo we're dealing with. You can see it on Facebook. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of the show.
Well, plus we got it as the background now.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
you're probably seeing it right now.
Right on. So
New things.
Right. But last video for the day.
Last video for the day. I am a super fan of this guy. I first heard Tyler Childers. He's got a song called White House Road. I like the song quite a bit. He's got a line in there. We were sipping on that whiskey, getting high on that cocaine. So, you know, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
running along. Yeah, like,
Hey,
yeah.
that's
So,
definitely.
and then he's got this acoustic version of his song Lady May. He's got interesting style, interesting voice.
Right. It's definitely.
We're keeping it acoustic this whole episode.
It's definitely themed.
Yes.
How about that?
It is themed. So check it out. We'll talk to you later this week.
I'm a stone's throw from the mill, and I'm a good walk to the river. When my working day is over, we'll go swim our cares away. Put your toes down in the water, and a smile across your face, and tell me that you love me, lovely Lady May. Now I ain't the sharpest chisel that your hands have ever held, darling.